All right, welcome back. Daily Trading Recap for Tuesday, the 28th of September, 2021. Man, this month has freaking flown by. Pretty hard down day on SPY, 2% in the red, obviously coming off of a little lower high here after that hard dip pullback at the start of the week last week. So dip buyers obviously taking profits or getting out while they can. As it appears that SPY is not getting back in that channel, are not coming close to grind back up to that maybe potential 450 mark or get back in that channel like I mentioned. So hard day around the horn for the indexes. This is just a weird little, I don't know why it's doing this on my Thinkorswim today. It's just showing like this little gap in volume and price action. It looks like it's halted, but it's not, to the best of my knowledge. Market internals for dollar volume, NASDAQ, decent little dollar volume, 271 billion. Nice see, 354 billion. Good to see. OTC's 2.4 billion. Half an hour after the close as of right now. $60 down day. Yeah, $59 down day after two attempts on two different tickers for dip and rips. Just and in addition to a little bit of physical sickness and nasal congestion for today, and just also sick of losing freaking money. I tell you that. Of debating on whether or not I should have even traded today too, or how early I was going to wake up for today, knowing I need my sleep and what I was going to do, how long I was going to spend in front of the computers. But I still got to get that grinding, and it's no excuse of, I can put every other metric out there for what other people are doing in the world, and I know I got to buck up at some point and potentially take my risk down, not be stupid with it, but still understand that I don't have the luxury of doing other things that other traders can do, and I still have to get this grind out and get this knowledge in and continue to develop and understand myself as a trader. And I've never been in that situation too of being physically sick to say that, oh, I can't or I don't like to trade when I am physically sick. Never had that experience, so today was maybe potentially a good lesson to know that it wasn't incredibly bad. I stuck to my risk levels, stuck to my set parameters that I wanted to see, but just the charts didn't work out. And still haven't seemed to realize that dip and rips just have not been working well. And I may be clouded a little bit today in my judgment on that too, because both of the attempts that I took on SNOA and DBGI, of course, didn't work out, even though I let them play out as long as I could and tried to find the best parameters and didn't get absolutely chasey with them. But even on the ones, we do have the RCATs, we have the ZVOs, we have the HLBZs, the list goes on of the recent weeks too, of the ones that have been producing the decent, not slam dunk, not 2020 dip and rip style of trades where you just pretty much buy it wherever and then it will go up by the end of the day, just an awesome green trend. We haven't been seeing that. And I still think I trade these types of setups in that regard and still thinking that way in my thought process. I don't necessarily trade them specifically that way, thinking that they're just going to be an awesome all day green trend and I can just bag hold it to wherever I want it to and I can just get sloppy. I don't have to be precise with my entries. But I still kind of just cling on to that idea a little bit and pretend and sway myself that I can still trade them the exact same way every single day. That anytime any chart looks anywhere near close to a dip and rep opportunity, just go at it 100%, which is not the way I should be trading them when they haven't been producing that same number of probability on the hit rate for the win rate, playing those to the upside on those. So just tough day, yeah. Clouding my judgment a little bit on what I am to do with this when I take two losses in a row on what looked like pretty decent charts. Of course, I'll get into the specifics on them a little bit more as we break down the individual trades, but just, sick of losing money. Sick of being sick. Sick of losing money. Just got to do something different. Whether it is we on dip and rip setup specifically that I size way down to, but then I'm going to trick myself out again when I get two more winners in a row that are nice little 10% plus profitable trades that I'm going to be kicking myself knowing, I should use my bigger position size. Why did I just scale down after one day of taking two losses on that? But in knowing these two, these different rips haven't proven themselves so successful. You can get a nice little scalp, you can get a nice little move if you're absolutely 100% quick and on it. But then the risk reward in those times of the hit rate, once again, that I come back to of how many times do those works out and how many times, if you're not 100% precise, do they end up working out in the end? So that's all the factors that I have to take into account going forward, specifically pretty much for that dip and rip strategy in that sense too. But a lot of other tickers, opportunities around the horn to talk about. Let's get into it, starting off with SNOA. Bringing up the chart. So this one, former runner, low floater, just for fundamentals on it. 2 million floater. News Catalyst launches its first over-the-counter products on Amazon and in Amazon Europe, blah, 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 whatever. Daily chart will say that this thing is a one and doneer for sure. Let's do this here. Absolutely just get these awesome one day red spikes all the way up and down with huge volume on these days. I traded this one, I forget if I traded to the short side actually, stupidly, back in the 23rd on one of the more recent, or this was 19th. Yeah, I think this was 19th. Had another news catalyst day too that it had a nice percentage spike volume coming in the pre-market that we look for. That big percentage mover. Great big green spike right out of the gate into a short squeeze halt, then shopped around continuously a long time after that halt, and then you got a nice little perk to a new high of day that just got absolutely smacked down. Held VWAP, but then eventually broke it, and then just kind of faded around, shopped around the whole rest of the day too. So taking that into account too, and understanding, seeing other 424B3s and other little skeletons here and there in the filings, knowing that, hey, just be careful. The dip and rip could come on this one as an opportunity. I absolutely want to slam dunk it because it's not just going crazy. And here in the pre-market too, it's just not crazy spiking to the upside. It's not, shopping around so crazily. Really, my intention with this one before market open was I wanted to take a little bit of a small position size to say I think this could just quickly scalp. The same thing that I did on that August 19th of, or even in the past of these big pre-market percentage movers that we see that quick little move to the upside. And I really wanted to trade a just 1 minute kind of protection trade. I quote myself here again too of I think it's a high conviction, especially now that it's trending under VWAP and there's potentially more shorts jumping in on this one, looking to play for this style of trade that it ended up doing today, that get bagged pretty quickly when it just, within that first minute, within the volatility that comes right away from that morning bell. I just wanted to capture a little bit of that move to say I think it's a higher probability that this thing just does spike right at the open. Kept my risk level pretty strict, and 20 share position size that I had when I thought the bid was stacking, but of course, reading that level 2 in time and sales right out of the morning gate is just such a freaking minefield, right? Of what is developing, what is not developing, what you're putting in your own head that you think is there versus what is actually on the tape happening. So I thought we were going to come up a little bit more. We did for a little bit and then pulled back hard. So cut it as it was there for just a small, stupid loss. I knew it was just a speculative trade anyway and didn't have any hard feelings on it whatsoever, but then shifted immediately into the mindset of, okay, let's just let this thing play out. Let the time develop a little bit. It faded a little bit more. Let's wait for that 945-ish mark. Of course, trading this on the tape chart for the volume of trade today. A little over 200,000 trades on the day for what it did, which was funny too to compare this thing to DBGI when this one was pushing so much more volume, so much more trades than DBGI on the morning scan before the market opened. And then we get here and it was just a little bit slower. It just the trades kind of fell off, volume fell off a little bit more. It was just very interesting to see. I don't know if I had any inflection on what happened today too, if that was any indication of what was to happen, that there was going to be no volatility in this one, especially too in the fact it was pretty insane, brutal borrow fees on this one that I just looked up for fun through Trade Zero. Jeez, I forget like $26 for 100 shares. I think I may be way off on that, but it was pretty insane for the percentage move per share that the borrow fees were on this one. So just kind of saying, I didn't want to get in the short side on this one, but also keeping in the back of my mind the other trade opportunity that number 7 likes to employ of, hey, looking to shorten to any morning spikes, and mentally doing that to myself too. I don't think I have the data or the will to do that at this point, but knowing to see, hey, I kind of want to, if it does start to do that and playing the reverse side, I could just, reverse my position when I would be selling that first minute candle spike of playing into something like that, to just trying to milk out as much of these charts as I can to and understand how they like to work and how they feel in the market hours especially. So we waited a long time for this dip and rip to develop, and I was really looking for a fake out dip and rip attempt. So watch this consolidation level happen like 10 minutes before that 945 mark that I wanted to see. You get a new low day break here, which fakes out a few more longs that we're trying to play off of that potentially. Then you get this nice little slow grind, which looks like it's coming back decently to VWAP, which is we want to see that slow, just little bleeding of the shorts back to VWAP point until you get that massive just spike in the upside to sell into as a long, which is the dip and rip pattern. I really wanted to see that and a failure of it, and I wanted to buy that flush where it just kind of captured all those, whether it put in a new low off of that just quick dump or it just held a little bit still in that consolidation range. I wanted to be a part of that flush, playing off of that emotional side to get that quick fill to then play it, of course, to the upside. I thought that's what was going to happen on this one, that this level was going to be holding. It worked out pretty well that it was the original low consolidation that happened within the first few minutes of market open. Thought it was going to continue, but ended up not working out. Broke that low a day. A little bit after my exit, I exited kind of early. I was speculating that it was just going to be a hard slap to the downside, and there was going to be a lot of stops based on that low a day. But reflecting on it too, I understand that my trade, my entry was a little bit quicker, and it wasn't as much opportunity for more stops to be in on that. So I could have potentially waited a little bit longer, knowing that there wasn't going to be a heck of a lot of shorts, or heck of a lot of longs, potentially placing stops in at this low a day here that would have just absolutely drugged the price down, pulled the rug if it tapped that area. So 150 shares for that trade that just got stopped out. Respected the risk level, respected my stops when they were there, and even preempted the exit, knowing that if it was weak here at this point, it wasn't fully that 945 time frame, but just knowing that if it's continually putting in new low days before that 945 area that we want to look for, it just continually weakens the probability that dip and rip is going to happen. It's just, again, the mentality of the market's meant to wear you out and continually chip and chip and chip away. It's not just going to keep you nice and fluffy the whole time. Maybe it doesn't work out initially after your entry, wherever you buy, wherever you short for whatever setup, but it's just meant to absolutely drag you upside down all around, swing you around, and just throw you at the freaking wall. So just keeping my mental capital and understanding that I was looking for the trade to happen immediately when it didn't happen, and when it was looking weak, protecting myself is always going to be way better than wishing I wasn't in it when I'm in it, versus being on the sidelines and watching it go, and the reverse, if that makes sense. So just tough loss on that one. I think that was the bigger one of, I forget the exact P&L, but just tough loss. Felt conviction as stated by my position size on that one. That was pretty much the largest portion of my cash to be able to trade today. I thought we were going to get a little bit at least of a potential reclaim touch to VWAP, and then some magic could happen from there. But the overhead certainly had it today and just faded this thing on down into the close. That was SNOA DBGI. Similar type of thing, just these super sketchy companies. I didn't look if I trade this one before. It's, of course, just daily. It's just absolutely nothing. Nice volume day today, coming on news of new revenue guidance increase of 350% from 2021, which is great news. Kind of like an earnings-ish play almost, but in a sense of trying to manipulate and hype the stock up. And again, like I mentioned with SNOA, it was a little bit less than SNOA in regards to volume and trades going off, but then as market hours came, this one started to attract a little bit more, and it was printing on the tick way more candles than SNOA was doing from the open, which was interesting to me. And I always get my eye on, I had this one in parallel with SNOA, that looking for that same type of dip and rip setup, looking for the opportunity for the consolidation, little dip off fade underneath VWAP. You get closer, little bleeding back to VWAP, and then a short squeeze back to the upside on these low floaters. This one was 6.9 million low floater, that style of trade. So gave it plenty of time once again, and forced myself to continue to wait. And of course, shoulda, coulda, woulda. Waited a little bit more. This was getting to that 943-ish, 945 time frame, where it's developing decent little consolidations. You already had this one little consolidation area here that failed, another little consolidation area that kind of failed again. Any longs that were basing the trade off of this one, another one again. And that's the kind of little pattern to this little W, second V here, was a similar type of mentality that I was looking for SNOA, where I was looking to, off a quick another flush that just came successively after another attempt on this one, where any of the secondary longs who were thinking they were patient, like me, were then getting stopped out once again when the move wasn't happening directly from there. That's when I wanted to be entering to play it to the move from the upside from there. So that little entry point would have been a solid little basing, of course, risking off the low day. Did eventually come back to just under VWAP, but then failed to really break out that 4-5 level, having a little bit of say around what it did, and then just snapped off the table, broke that low day, and I got stopped out. I think it actually missed my stop out, and I had to take a limit order here at like 4.3 from 4.52, 4.53, I think I had with that 100 shares. So just tough. And going back to the intraday here, had that little bit of nice consolidation under VWAP, holding well, putting in these higher lows, and then this nice little consolidation time frame where, oh, there's a bug. you can see this nice volume coming in to break it to the upside of VWAP, when in reality, it's the same thing. Can correlate this back to the probability of dip and rip trades happening. Trying to take a trade on a VWAP hold consolidation afternoon style trade is just so hard these days because of the probability of them happening. It had one little nice attempt here. If you could play this to 4.3 as the decent entry, 4.35 as it's breaking that, and then taking your profits at 4.5 for 15 cents. Great. There's not much room after that, but then of course you could just get absolutely demolished a few minutes after, and it holds this little $4 level area perfectly, but then of course breaks it off of there. So you had one that was decent to the upside and one that just broke and smashed you to the downside underneath that $4 level. Tough all the way around. It is what it is. That's all I got to say pretty much on that one. Let's get going now to CEI. Did not trade this one, of course. Those were my only two trades. But it's funny to look on the daily on this one. You look at it and go, awesome. That's a great parabolic move on the daily. Of course, it's just insane run up in itself too. And then you see this huge volume candle that it is for the day in total. I think let's look at, I erased it. Dollar volume in total, 2.2 billion on the day. Over 1 million trades on this one. Soaking up so much volume, so many longs, so many back holders. Whatever the case may be. Going back to the daily, it's, looking at the daily, I even told myself that, oh my gosh, this looks like a great overextension. This could be a nice short going into tomorrow. But then you look on the intraday, and then even reflecting back on going back in time to reading the chat room for the morning session, this was an awesome short opportunity as it was getting overextended in the morning. Like, a lot of the red names were getting short here and playing this to the downside. Huge crack as it failed at 345. And just hard for me to even at my point in time as a trader here, to try and identify or even paper trade in my head of getting a short position here, but then still holding as it's spiking to new high days here, and still, what your risk level becomes at that point, but still holding on to starter shares or starter positions at that point, with the risk of, man, how high could this thing go? It just could continue to go up and up and up beyond all logic, beyond all reason. The whole reason for this run up is just meaningless. It's BS. Totally. Again. And this chart again too, just by the way, it's the same thing as SPY. I don't know why the volume just like dropped off for some reason. It's just weird. But short side on this one was obviously there being put in way too many bag holders, way too pumpy on Twitter. Just everybody's getting rewarded, of course, too, because now it's at $3 when, how many times did I read that on Twitter in every chat room? That I think somebody even posted that on one of my videos too, of CEI's going to $3 within the next few days here, whatever it was. I was like, okay, buddy, you do you. It's the same thing as the meme stocks, the AMCs of, oh, that thing's going to $1,000, and now they're getting rewarded for being an ape, right? So eventually get a nice panic. You get a failure at VWAP, just continue pushing this little block here of trading this to the downside from this 345-ish area. That confirmation of the huge sell-off with volume after the overextension, just an awesome little downside there. But then you get, it was funny that number 7, Jack number 2, even mentioned in the chat that, I think as a joke a little bit though, oh, just wait for the crazy, insane reversal, dip buy price action that comes on this one today too. And you get into that 11:30 time frame, that 12 o'clock noon time frame. I mean, it's right back to VWAP pretty much as we're getting into the noon session. This thing reversed immediately on its head, and all the shorts that were just sitting pretty with huge size going in this one are now getting into the afternoon session are like, okay, I've got a huge position size on this one and it's holding decently well. And now there's more names in every chat room that are saying, hey, this thing looks good. It could have a nice after hours squeeze here. Could get squeezy because now all the shorts are still bagged in this one and it's just reversed completely. So man, it's had so many of these little fake outs. You get this nice dump here on this big volume candle, which shows up on the video. And then you get another one here that, it's looking good. It's reclaiming that VWAP, testing this little regional high here, not coming close to high of day, obviously. But this like 3.2-ish level, you get another perk above there. Failure there again on big volume, but then reclaim again, and then just failure once again. Consolidates that VWAP, looks good, looks like it's breaking down. Comes to the upside once again, choppy, broccoli. As of right now, coming back to the daily, it's just like, I still carry the idea that this thing could be a good short going into tomorrow, but it's obvious too that everybody in the grandma is thinking the same thing, that this could be an awesome short. You just got it. Anybody with a brain could see the volume on this one is so unopposed between any of these crescending, what word am I looking for? Preceding days, that is, this thing could just go be absolutely nuts tomorrow on the short side of the panic. But in reality, too, I have to realize it's the same thing as like trading these OTCs, like the ILUSs, of when they just continue to have these panics intraday, it just ruins any opportunity for a panic dip by, or just a straight one-time event panic to the downside on a single day. I will certainly be watching this thing with my popcorn and open eyes just to take this chart in for what it is, because this is one for the history books to always be learning from and to be looking for in the future, of why these things continue to go parabolic, when and if they do start to actually crack. And just the same mentality too of, like, I always go back to the CYDY Gritani short of, do these types of trades, trying to trade them to the short side, have to entail getting stopped out so many times because you risk a nice high day level, or you just hold yourself accountable to cutting losses quickly? Whereas kind of potentially today too, you got rewarded if you held, or called it a starter position, getting short anywhere in this area or getting short in this little consolidation when it's breaking to new highs, but then trading off of here. But then if we get another break to the upside of here, it holds VWAP, that you're trading this short, then how much higher could this thing have gone? It's so many different opportunities and variables that could have gone into this thing. But man, just as an educational experience, it's totally awesome to see this thing. And I think tomorrow could be a pretty fun day on this one for CEI. ENZC I wanted to mention as well too, an OTC ticker. Really nice opportunity that I just saw after hours here. I think I even saw this one intraday, but just wanted to also highlight, or just the reason I like this one too, just to highlight this like 15-cent area as level support, level resistance. Let's see if we can do it right. Right there, that's fine. How eventually after this huge parabolic move, let's see when this was, February 1st, around there, that time frame of crazy 2020, early start of this year at least, and then you get just whatever choppiness daily on it, then you get the downside coming into effect. 15 becomes a little bounce area, then it eventually breaks that level, has a little flirtation, a little bit of resistance point, you break to the upside of that. Back in June where we do this, and then you get these continual 2, 3, 4 green days being put in. More choppiness around there, that as it comes to like the 30-cent area, which would have been 100% move from that 15 level, pulls back down, support, you get another bounce, support again, and eventually slowly comes through and breaks that 15 level. Then you get resistance to the upside, resistance-ish again, resistance pure, and now breaks that 15 yesterday on decent volume, not absolutely mind-boggling, but then a nice gap up today. And a nice close yesterday too, of where it was, that holds pretty well and decently. And calling this one that VWAP type of afternoon style trade, where even identifying an entry point around this 17-ish area as it's holding well going into the afternoon session, coming into that high of day, any of these volume breaks to the upside, specifically highlighting this point of right here with nice volume where it's pushing to the upside, or even this point here. We'll just give these little circles. That's not what I want. Yeah, right there. Just these candles as entry points to see that bid support is coming in, pushing this to the upside. Not in moving price away quickly like Mike Bielafiore likes to see, more so I guess on listed type of tickers that are breaking out. But on this one we see it is an OTC ticker, but showing that support is there and that the move to the upside could become in effect. So really nice hold. And I say that looking in hindsight too, because I wasn't holding this thing too. But if whatever this little choppiness craziness was, it still was a really decent hold into the close, and closed incredibly strong, just above 19.5 here. 19.75 was the high on that one. We'll see what it wants to do tomorrow. If you call it a little second day style of trade, not the most awesome volume compared to what it did on that June time frame on those very similar type of setup where it breaks that 15. Maybe we get a doji tomorrow, just a little rest consolidation day, and then going into, that would be Thursday, we get a nice another push, green push to the upside on this ticker. Great mention on that one for ENZC. Watch list going into tomorrow. CEI, like I mentioned, is going to be a great watch. I really don't know if I have any hard trading plans on it. If I wanted to use a day trade to the short side on it just for experimentation, what the borrow fees on that one, but that would be a fun one to watch either way. TNPE I wanted to mention as well too, pretty insane volume. More of a just kind of afternoon hold style of trade, or recent little geez, I'm all over the place. Just this kind of $11 area-ish level break. If anything wants to happen of it, it's not anything hard I'm doing. It's a nicey ticker. It's just an educational little watch I'm keeping an eye on. I'm more kind of interested in ONDS, which I'm kicking myself a little bit that I didn't watch it harder into the close of how it closed today. We're getting this nice little perk here with volume to this little regional breakout area of 945-ish. Both of these days topped perfectly at 945, and then it had a hard volume sell-off here at this point. So anybody bag holding still is now green from that point. Longer daily time frame is, yeah, this is just a recent little daily chart sketchiness. A little bit of choppier of price action if you're looking at the candles specifically, but held these levels well, held view at pretty perfectly. And even if I was holding a position from 9.4-ish, from where I was holding here into the close, I would be pretty comfortable sitting where it's at right now, 9.5. Problem I see with this one is if just volume dies off and nothing continues to happen from this after hours or into the pre-market, then I could just see this one hovering out, doing absolutely nothing. But great little technical level opportunity on this one. I don't think it had any news either on this one. Just an 8K release that was just a promotional pump, I believe, for their drone stuff, whatever it is. So keeping a watch on that one. ONDS and ENZC, yes, watching that one for tomorrow. Maybe it has a little something. Naked is kind of on the back burner for me. The first time I mentioned this one, I forget what day it was, I think it must have been this day, the 24th of, I wanted to see if we could get a little fake breakout yesterday and then a pullback, and then it just has a little bit more time to consolidate, and then we get a nice push to the upside. Whereas yesterday we did have the actual nice breakout that was still choppy to say the least, but it did whatever you want to call this little consolidation range for the wider risk tolerance you would have to take trying to trade it within this, looking for the nice after hours push. Then you get today too, where it's just like, okay, does more volume come in to push us to the upside? Does it, pull back a little bit more, have some rest coming into today? What's the timing on all of it? It's like an Andy Warhol painting. Andy Warhol? That's a painter, right? Of what it did today, to a little bit of like panic here on volume. It's so just tough for me. I think it's an educational watch for me on this one, especially comparing it to what it did in this June area as well. Pretty similar volume, nice kind of similar-ish green days where you're getting curling off of little bases, technically. But just it's going to need some more volume to come in, especially. And I think it needs a little bit more time to draw out to bring in more volume. It is a former runner. It's a pretty low floater. I forget the specific float on this one. Look it up quick. Typing in letters. It's an absolutely insanely high float, 740 million float. But the former runnerness aspect doesn't go away too. And I think if it does start to attract some attention, it definitely was a part of Wall Street Bets, the meme funk style of play. We'll see if those has any aspect to it. That $1 whole level area, of course, is always looming as well too, which can be a huge psychological factor in as well. But that's on the back burner as of right now. CRVS is still holding this kind of 6.5-ish range, and I want to keep an eye on that for sure. Looking at this one more of an intra-daily type of chart. Yes, it still has the choppiness. I still forget the day when I tried to trade this one for the first green day or reversal day on this one that eventually happened yesterday on Monday. That was a nice opportunity. But it had that initial perk, had a little bit of a pullback, then you get another move to the upside just on no news on just manipulation, whether internally, externally. But it's still that key area, this little range too, especially when considering these past 2 days, these after hours and that market hours of kind of $7 to $6.50 is a little bit of a key area of where it has some point of interest and where it's currently sitting right now going into after hours here. So if we see any amount of volume coming into tomorrow, or if I see any amount of break to the upside of $7 with volume coming in, bids stepping up, support being shown on this one, potentially looking to squeeze more shorts, long-term shorts on this one, I would be very interested once again to see if lightning could strike again for a move that would really be what I was looking for initially on trading it Monday when I traded it kind of poorly. I didn't even have any cash left to really trade it on that day for the reversal. I think this thing's got plenty more in the take for what it could do squeezy-wise, for how much just this weird daily volume action going on where the first day was the biggest day and then it's just like nothingness going on. There's no panic. Like longs who are bagged in this thing, who are, not really any longs speculating on this one, I don't think. But no longs are panicking according to the volume. It's just nobody's leaving as of yet. So it could just be still accumulation, could just be getting closer to a ramp up, or it could just be absolutely nothing. I just may be bonkers, but I will certainly keep that one on watch and watching that technical range, like I mentioned, with that little $7 to $6.50-ish area that it likes to be sitting in as of right now, especially too. And then kind of in the same mindset, HLBZ, where it just has these press releases. It's just trying and trying over and over again to get that nice push back to the upside. It's done it successfully a lot of times, 2 times in the past 2 weeks. It's been really ridiculous daily chart, but still kind of looking for that first green day. It looks like a first green day kind of on the daily here, but just still really hasn't found a squeeze of any shorts. And I think the same thing that with CRVS, if I do, it's 30 minutes ish of, call it this $18-ish area, call it this $19-ish area, little range. It's not a specific hard technical level, but it's finding a little bit of a base. And maybe that's just total eyewash, and this thing is just an absolute terrible company and continues to ride that range for the rest of its days. It doesn't have a lot of history on the daily, of course, too, so it could just be liking to sit there. It doesn't have to come all the way back down to what it originally was trading around, this like $10 to $8 range. But we'll be watching to see, again, having to have a wider risk tolerance on this one and looking for that volume push to come in this one. And so hard for me to give attention away from other tickers that already have more volume coming in, or just convert a lot of my attention to this one just to kind of numb my brain over and over again to potentially speculate if volume's coming in to step up on the bid. Similar like a Bryce Toohey type of mentality of he's looking specifically for, and he's able to read those so well when volume's coming in on the bid, or if there's a big bidder coming in at this specific point, and blah, 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 blah. But again, the educational purposes of it, I think it could have some opportunity potentially tomorrow, potentially later this week. We will certainly see. That is all I had. Great day around the horn. Great day to be live. It's always a great day when you don't have to wear pants to go to work. Even though I'm sick, even though I'm sniffling like an idiot, not having to wear pants and not having a boss is just the frickin' best thing in the world, I tell you what. I thank you guys for watching. We will catch you guys on the next one.